Next meeting is December 15, right? There's a little typo.
Yeah, this is for 23, actually.
Yeah, but
Right.
yeah.
So we have the proposal for next year. Does anybody want to move to approve that? Break up the public schedule.
I'll move.
Just Kenomi, second.
I'll second it.
Okay, we got 3 seconds now. Okay, let's go on. If all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, we have our meeting dates. Okay, we're ready for probation. You want to take a break or do you want to continue plowing through? Do I hear anybody?
Plow through.
And plow through, okay. Probation, consolidation, sentencing, offense code, expense.
All right, so since we're plowing through, I'm gonna plow through this pretty quickly. Just as a little bit of background, this was regarding dual supervision issues. When somebody is placed on supervision, say with community corrections and court services, or they're on parole and community corrections, any of those agencies, how to have the individual just supervised by one person. And that was from Senate Bill 408 last year, and it modifies the statute numbers 216601. So there has been a large, it kind of headed by CSG. We've had a large contingent of DOC individuals, community corrections, OJA. A lot of people have worked on this basically since June, and I think we're to the point now where it's just being cleaned up. The MOU has been created, and the next step is it'll go to DOC and OJA to get final signatures and do whatever work they need to complete. So really the MOU itself is just establishing procedures for individuals who are serving concurrent supervision sentences for felonies. It's creating criteria basically for determining who the primary supervision agency is. I mean, there's been a lot of work put into this. It's lists, things like their exceptions to transfers. The hope is that during the pre-sentence report, the PSI process, that concurrent supervision can be identified during that. And then it should be noted in the PSI. So that's probably where the sentencing forms discussion comes into play, just how to note that. So it's clear for judges that an individual may be on supervision with a different entity. And I don't know if we need to also discuss some of the protocol, which is like length of supervision, what agency might have the longest sentence. So some of those things come into play with this MOU. The MOU itself talks about transfer requirements, the supervision services and the procedures that are followed, such as following conditions of probation in each case, financial obligations, violations of supervision, and information sharing. It also creates a standardized progress report form that'll be used between supervision agencies to share information. So really, that's kind of just a really high level overview of the things this group has looked at. And again, I think we're ready. The only thing we'll probably need to work on, and I don't know if there would need to be a journal entry amendment as well if someone's on other supervision when they're sentenced, or if that's just a PSI issue and the judge orders that individual to another agency for supervision. But there's also protocol if it's not addressed at sentencing, that the supervision entities would the officers themselves would be the one to initiate those transfers. So kind of high level. If anybody's got questions, I can dive a lot deeper into it, but that's just our overview.
Any questions, Spence, on that issue? No actions required at this time, sir. No. Okay, we'll move on to Kara's update on 123.
All right, I'm
gonna assume based on the agenda that you said that it's my turn. Is that, can I get like a thumbs up? I cannot hear most of what's being said. I'm so sorry. All right. Well, I'm gonna take your silence to mean that it's my turn, and I'm gonna just share my
We
screen.
can hear you, Kara. Go ahead.
Okay. Cool. All right, well, sharing my screen and here we go. I'm going to try to get through this in kind of one breath. Basically, the short version of this is everything's going great and only have good things to report. We had the 123 conference on Tuesday. That went great. We had over 100 attendees. We will be posting all of those materials online. So if you want to check that out, that will be on end of this week, beginning of next week. We are also going to be conducting a raft diversion program training that will be placed online as well to get people kind of current on that. Scott and I recently submitted an article to the Kansas Prosecutor magazine that some of you may have received a copy of. So we're trying to get the word out. Currently, we only have 2 individuals that are utilizing funding through this program, both of whom are there for cannabis charges. So in case you're curious, that's what it's looking like. The SB 123 research project that we talked about previously is done. It's in the books. I defended my dissertation successfully, so confetti and all that. So I look forward to showing you that at some point in the near future because we found some really interesting things. We also have submitted a temporary certification protocol for clinicians and peer mentors to make sure that we keep people able to provide services for offenders who are licensed and are working for an agency that's already certified. So we get people rolling through while we work on the regular certification program. We're also currently trying to develop a formal complaint and grievance process for both treatment providers to use with regard to other treatment providers and for community corrections or other supervising agencies to use for treatment providers specifically because our job is to audit treatment providers. So that is who we will be focusing that on, and this will streamline that process. We also announced a change at the conference to pre-sentence assessment, which is currently billed in-house. That will be moving to Beacon Health Options as of January 1, 2023. So that's coming up. We are going to roll that into all of the upcoming trainings, both for the raft diversion program and other kind of policy and procedure stuff that's going on. So that is the news for 123. I would take your questions, but it is incredibly difficult to hear. So please email me if you have any questions that I can address, and I will be happy to do that.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if I can yell loud enough, the road's not working. So if you have questions, email them. We'll move on. Thank you. Agency reports, Scott?
Okay, I have in your packet, you have the prison population letter that was sent by the Secretary for October. We also have the monthly monitoring report that John includes. Just wanted to kind of bring to your attention, obviously right now we have 82% capacity. Just as a comparison from last year, it was 81%. And so it's kind of similar with the males. It was 82% in October, 81% last year this time, 77% for females, 78% last year. So staffing continues to be an issue, obviously, with staffing capacity being at 99% for the males and 76% for the females. Our monitoring, if you look at the monthly monitoring report, we're right at 1%, which we try and stay at 2 or below for the error rate. One of the things that, again, that we did this year, based upon what we were seeing, was that the growth rate that we had originally looked at for this particular year was 2% for the male population, 6% for the female population. And I think that's why we're seeing now there's a slowdown as far as female inmates are concerned coming into the system. And so that 6% was, I think, looking right now pretty ambitious because we're at about 4.6% as far as the error rate is concerned. We'll continue to monitor that, of course, but I don't think we, in the history of the commission, we've ever had a growth rate that high. So we'll continue to see what happens for the remainder of the fiscal year. So those of you who are here, you now have the latest and greatest desk reference manual. Enjoy. Those of you that are online members, will be getting that sent to you. We do have the laminates that are popular that are still at the printers waiting for it to come in. So if you are interested, members, and would like laminates, email us, and when those come in, we'll send it to you. Big thanks to Chris, Trish, and Brenda, who are the main individuals that put the desk reference manual together. They're getting pretty good at that, working as a team together. So so we'll be shipping out basically pre-orders that we've received and fulfilling those for throughout the state. Francis, on Tuesday, we had a lot going on Tuesday. Not only did we have the Senate Bill 123 conference, but we also had journal entry training that Francis did for actually quite a few new folks. Big thanks. I think Jeff Wagner is on. Big thanks to the KCDA for getting the word out that we were having the training, because we saw a lot of new faces, which is what we were after as far as doing that training. I think Rachel helped Francis with that in trying to help them a little bit better in their knowledge of completing the journal entries. John, as you know, was not here. He was at the American Society of Criminology conference in Atlanta. That's pretty much the reason why we used to have the workshops during this time. That's why we moved it back to September, because there was always all of those type of folks that we'd like to have speak are always at that conference because it's very popular. As far as the budget is concerned, it was submitted a couple of weeks ago. As I indicated, our finance manager, we had previously resigned about a week before the budget was due. So I spent 6 weeks learning how to do that and learning the new system. But we got that taken care of, and it has been submitted. We do have recommendations that are back that we're meeting with our budget analyst tomorrow on. So Kim will get her first enjoyment of me speaking with other agencies. So anyway, we have just so that you're aware, Spence and Chris Lyon have been working on a DUI flow chart. So it has a comparison of, since we had such significant changes last year with going from non-grid to severity level 6 felonies, we decided to, there were others that have been circulated as well, but they're working on one right now that hopefully will be able to cover the bases as far as the changes that will be helpful for people. So maybe another laminate coming to mailbox near you. We have, as most of you do, we have for staff Thanksgiving coming up on the 24th and 25th. On the 29th, Kira and I will be presenting in front of the Joint Corrections Juvenile Justice Oversight Committee at I think it's on noon on the 29th, relating to substance abuse treatment, SB 123 things. I think you saw, maybe we had a typo, December 15th is our next commission meeting. As you recall, we normally do the governor letter that we approve and send. I have not forgotten about that, but we're still trying to finalize things, so that's why I kind of held off on that. So as usual, if you have any questions, or please email and text as usual. I do have 2 things left that I have to do. I want to, Trish, you want to come up here for a second?
No, me.
She doesn't know I was going to do this, but, the year was 2007, and she probably remembers this. Gacho pants, white headbands, fake tans, and Crocs were trendy, apparently. And so, and also at that time, church was hired by the Sentencing Commission on October 22nd. Since that time, from 2008 to 2011, 2015, she has had various promotions. And in 2016, she was recognized by the agency for distinguished accomplishment, along with the rest of the 123 staff. At that time, we had done some reorganization, and we had been able to realize a savings of over $705,000 within the program because of their work together. And she was also an employee of the quarter that same year. In 2019, she was promoted to program auditor and has been a fixture with 123 for many years, serving in various roles. She also does webmaster things, so anything you see on the website, she has had a hand in doing that as well. I've mentioned this before as well, the DRM support. She handles all the formatting of the forms and everything else, and that's how she has, and that's been for a lot of years. I am going to present you with this certificate in recognition for 15 years of service. In addition to that, she is as part of our awards program receiving $500, and Jason also has something to show you as well.
Sure. Thank you
All right.
very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Okay. My next question would be, what does George Clooney and Brenda Harmon have in common?
But good-looking people.
That's a great guess. In 1997, he was the People's Magazine Sexiest Man Alive, and Brenda was hired by the Senate. So when she was hired, obviously the commission was, by all intents and purposes, a young agency at 4 years of age, and she has seen many changes within the, whether that be commission members, whether that be administrators, whether that be staff coming and going. But I kind of wanted to take a little time to go over some of those things. 2010, she was promoted to special assistant to the director, and was promoted again in 2013. Many of you know a lot of her duties, but some of you may not. And she does all of our human resources within the agency. She obviously is my assistant. She does payroll. She is office manager previously, and still she is actually acts as some researching and as a researcher here within the agency. She's done data entry. She's served roles as the finance manager. She's a detective when it comes to agency documents that are institutional. She does it all. And many of you are very familiar with the fact that she is a customer service extraordinaire. Just recently, I will give you just a brief example. When our finance manager did resign abruptly, I didn't have to say anything. She stepped right up and took on the day-to-day operations and we were working together to try and make sure that our bills were paid. That was something that she just does. So I trust Brenda with any task, any responsibility, and any deadline. And as we move into 30 years next year with the sentencing guidelines, we celebrate 25 years of excellence and recognize that the agency has been forever shaped by Brenda's drive, character, motivation, organization, and determination. So, I'm going to give this certificate for 25 years of service. You also get the $1,000 for your service, and we also have a little other thing. I think Jason can help me out with that as So, after the meeting, please help yourself to some cake. It says, thank you, Brenda, for 25 years of service. So, that's all I got.
Okay, thank you, Trish, Brenda, and Scott.
That's a big one.
305. So we have I guess one item left, and I don't want to rush through this, but we have one item that we need to be okay, so. Our kind of preference is to give you the history, because I know not all of them have been the whole time. Several years ago, we did this market rate study to get our staff up to market rate. The legislature approved it. Use the budgetary, the money in the budget to pay all the raises and get everybody market rate. I think that occurred last July. Right?
Yes.
So everybody got, it's not like we got at least a 5% raise, but you also got the additional raises with the market rate. And we had some people that were substantial market rate. So we approved all that. Now, there was a problem. They didn't give Scott his market rate adjustment. And that is has to do with director of budget. They have final say over the pay raises, that sort of thing. So we got, so Judge Sexton and I did in fact appeal that. We signed a letter to the director of budget to explain all the work that our committee had done and the commission had done to develop this market rate study. And but it didn't go anywhere. He didn't do his rate. So that's kind of, it's in the budget again for next year. We have the money for this year's budget to actually pay the raise that you're supposed to get. We just didn't get the individual raise approved. So the issue of the money is not appropriate. It's just it has to go through paperwork with the governor's office budget. One of the things that I guess they really didn't know or recognize what Scott actually does as far as the budget. They could bring into the word cosmetology or something. I don't know what is going on there, but anyway, it has to do with other director salaries and that sort of thing. And it didn't get approved. But so in the interim, what has happened is we've taken on the electronic journal entry project, and Judge Sexton could be here because he has a very important appointment that we could invest. But he and I have discussed this. We're going to bring it to you for your consideration. We want to change Scott's duties or to include the supervision and all that's controversy, potential costs for that, of that project, which includes not only all the time he spent this year getting it ready, and there was a lot of work that had to be done because of state regulations on spending money and historical record preservation and all that kind of stuff that nobody anticipated. But also there's no ongoing obligation to provide more oversight on that, which somebody has to do, whether it be Scott or somebody else, a new hire, an IT person or something. Scott can do it. So what Judge Sexton and I discussed, and we can't make a decision. You guys make a decision. We're trying to get the information to you. Scott has requested he's willing to take on that additional annual responsibility. It would be I would call it chief information officer or some sort of a technical addition to his duties. And his additional, we're proposing additional compensation for that, additional duties. It doesn't really compensate him for the maybe 400 hours he spent this year. Past, that's unwatered the bridge, but it would compensate in the future for those duties. The proposal that Scott has asked for, and Judge Sexton, I say, we've agreed, I'm speaking for Judge Sexton because he's not here, was to add $20,000, which is actually maybe a few dollars less, I think, than the original market rate that the adjustment was going to be anyway. So that's what we talked about. Scott, would you tell them what did you have to do, what this new position entails, and what obligations that you have to take in addition to what you had in the past?
Yeah, I couldn't say that I kind of did this to myself because I brought the issue up when this actually occurred some time ago when the governor, the chief justice, as well as the legislature invited CSG into the state to actually start justice reinvestment again. In doing so, as a technical assistant agency or assistance agency, CSG had a DOJ grant that they were able to designate $500 million to Kansas. And along the way, it was evident that they were looking for potential ideas for utilizing those funds. And so that is when I decided to bring up the idea of the electronic journal entry, because we knew that there was going to be big upfront costs to start out with to make this a reality. And so there was a big enough $276,000 worth of upfront cost to actually start making this happen. What was required, of course, was to go through the application process and be able to fill out all the necessary forms that were required to do that. But in addition to that, the Kansas Information Technology Office also requires any project over $250,000 through the state to also go through a process of, I think it was a 15-item checklist that, we were required to step through the same hoops that the regions doing multi-million-dollar projects who employ multiple IT folks and some that do only grants for the universities and everything else, KBI, others included. The same process, including doing everything from getting approval from the Kansas State Archivist to as far as records dispositions and approval from the state ADA coordinator as well regarding our software bill. So that is essentially what I've been doing since June in addition to the budget. We finally received all of those approvals, which as the judge said, took many hours and many back and forth with multiple individuals within the state as well as with CSG to finally actually receive the go-ahead that we could actually receive the grant, but also then we could show even the workflow itself as to what would happen, and that was another step in the process of actually doing. So that was kind of the warm-up things. Going forward, there obviously will be some project management that will be required to keep that thing on track. We're looking for possibly finishing up the build at the end of March. After that, there will be obviously maintenance in the requirements in there to try and we're looking at overseeing piloting the project as well as then the state rollout itself, which will then, I'm sure that there will be some speed bumps along the way as well. So there's a lot more things involved going ahead with things, and that's why I kind of approached the judges about that particular situation. I think that we would be hard pressed to find a part-time IT person to supervise that, and I'm willing to take on the task.
Comments?
How long, will this be a one-year project, Scott, or whatever?
We'll continue doing this. It's going to be it's going to be continued since the journal entry project is going to keep going. We'll continue to tweak things. Even in an ADA context, I was already told that version 2, version 3 will probably have to look different. But they were agreeable to let us go with what we currently had, with the idea that we're going to be looking at this down. The Americans with disabilities.
Oh, okay, that's okay, so that's.
So that is, that's something that as we go into version 2, version 3, there's going to need to be some oversight there that to be able to we're also currently meeting with OJA on a monthly basis to try and figure out, we're integrating it into their e-file system.
Yeah.
So that only attorneys and judges can actually be verified in the system to use that. That's another part of the piece of the puzzle that not only do we build the journal entry forms and their functionality, but also now we're going to have to integrate that into their system, which means more meetings, more activity. And then, we're going to have to make sure that whatever we're doing plays nice with, with the idea that at the end of the day, an electronic journal entry now is going to be available for the court. I did cost analysis on how many thousands of hours it's going to save clerks throughout the state, which it will, because now they're not paying paper. And
So is the judiciary willing to help put the 20,000?
no, I don't think that's actually been discussed.
My
Think about the money, because it's already been budgeted, approved by the legislature.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily new money.
Well, I don't like the idea that I don't want to give up on what the salary should be for the head of the sentencing division. And I mean, I certainly don't mind, paying for all the extra effort that's going into this, but I don't want them to then think that that's acceptable in
Well-
terms of the salary range. If it is that all the other boards don't make more than that.
Yeah, the thing that we're dealing with is we don't control what we do, not what the boards do, but the legislature, we did the salary study. And they said, within everybody's position, we got everybody moved up to what they should be. And the legislature approved that salary study, which included the initial raise to get up to market rate. That was pulled back by the governor's office, not just Scott's, nobody else's. And I mean, the reasons don't really matter. I think it was because they were looking at other small agencies and trying to trying to compare apples to oranges, but that's what happened. So we still have the money allocated in our budget. It's still in the budget to pay them. And now we're going through another budget appeal now because we put again for next year that same process, and of course we'll have to go through the appeal process to see how that comes out. But right now our budget has the money in it, and we proposed that the same budget has gone up that we had last year. There might be some additions, but not related to this. And so we're in a position. The only thing that we're asking to do is you already approved the raise at one time. It just wasn't approved by the governor because they had veto power. What we're asking you to do today is to change the job title to include this extra duties, and we'll allocate the $20,000 raise for that particular job title. So that, and of course, we can still consider other options too, but that's what the proposal is. The judge
That job would be linked to whoever is head of the sentencing.
Right, unless we propose a commission to change, break out different job description to something else, because you can always go hire somebody to do this. But I don't suspect you're gonna hire them for $20,000. That's.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to judge, what I'm trying to judge is, are we somehow giving up on getting the governor's office to give him the proper salary?
Well,
And I really think it's outrageous that we were compared to some of these others. And it just didn't get to the right level is what happened here.
And maybe.
But you know what I mean?
I guess they were busy doing other things, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe brother forgot.
Okay.
I don't know what happened, but we didn't get, but, so this is a proposal that I think, go ahead.
I just would echo, I think it's unfortunate that his position was, said he should be at a certain amount, and we've added so much, 400 more hours of duties just to get him compensated where he should have already been compensated. So I guess in summary, I would echo to still support and pursue the avenues that we have, but also to recognize and thank Scott that he should already be being paid that amount, and now we just added a lot more duty. I know, I understand the game, and I understand what we have to do. It's just unfortunate. I want to thank Scott for taking on these extra duties that now.
Yeah, so, I mean, the new budget is subject to an appeal right now, which I think this is one of the, so that's still, we're still pursuing that issue. The issue today is, are you willing to change the job title to include those additional supervision on the journal entry and make a finding that the appropriate compensation for that is whatever you think. The proposal from Scott was $20,000.
How much do we have in the budget?
We got all the money in the budget. That was,
Can we make
I think it was
30,000?
25.
Can we make it 30?
So the raise that we didn't give him, that we gave him, didn't get was 25, so it's actually less than what was on.
Well, then I'd like to make it 25.
Whatever you want to do, guys. He's only asking for 20.
Judge, I've got a question for you.
What's that? Yeah, Judge Hill, go ahead.
Do we really need to change the job title? Aren't we just simply asking for him to do these additional duties? We're just changing his responsibilities to include these. It seems to me if we just say we're changing a title, that's not meaning something. Aren't we really just saying, let's include these duties, and we're asking him to do this for this amount of compensation?
I would agree with you. You don't have to change the title. You just have to change the job description.
All right, I would so move.
Okay. Judge Hill moves to, is it a figure of 20,000 that you want to use on that motion?
I've heard somebody say 25, but it doesn't matter. I'm not the one receiving it, nor am I.
25.
Perfect.
I'll go 25.
We have 25.
30.
Let's rule on the, we got a motion and a second on 25. Let's start. Sounds like an option. Okay. Any other discussion?
Question. In the current budget request, what is it? Is it include this money, or is it has last year's higher?
We have the request from the budget right now, division of the budget, is to roll back 25,000 and change, which was that increase that was originally set as part of the salary study for me.
So the last year, the budget we're on right now actually had it in there.
Yes.
Okay.
But
So we,
current request is for your previous amount. Current request is for your previous.
Yes.
Okay. And so the 25 or 20 we get back up to last year's request.
so we have a motion, a second. Any other comments or questions? No? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody else on Zoom? I heard Judge Hill. Any opposed, say nay. Anybody on Zoom voting nay? Looks like the motion passed.
Effective when?
Well, oh, yes, you're right. Judge Hill, can I?
Yes, sir.
Motion to effective date that?
Again, please.
Well, we made a motion, but we didn't put an effective date on that.
When would you like it effective?
12 months ago.
Immediately? Immediately, if not sooner?
And you can, I mean, if you want to make a motion to make it immediate, you can do that.
Scott, last time I got delayed for
it will be delayed. I mean, it's one of those things that we can't control. It still has to go back to the governor's office. So it's not guaranteed.
Well, let me amend my motion to say within the next 90 days. Surely something can be done within 90 days.
Beginning of the pay period.
Okay, let's do this at the beginning, how about the beginning of the next pay period?
That would be fine.
Okay, you have a motion to me, Pat, seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Looks like it's passed. Okay, thank you very much. That concludes all of our listed items except for the celebration of the employees' longevity. We got a motion to adjourn. Mr. Domi, a second? Okay, Mr. Domi, all in favor, say aye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you. Right there, recess. Thank you. Well worked. Yeah.